We are a beloved community, a gathering of people who have chosen to journey together, to encourage one another, and to be part of something important and life-changing. Because we aspire to be such a people, we make bold promises about how we will be with one another. Whether today is your first time or you've made UU Amherst your longtime home, you are invited to share in our sacred promise. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world.
Sorry, conference there. So, I was trying to think of something that would fit for this time for all ages, that would also help to illuminate how we come to this space from many different places. Kenneth Patton, the late Unitarian minister, said that we arrive out of many singular rooms. So, and we come with expectations. I mean, it's a church. It's a house of worship. It's a gathering place. It is a community building. And all the other things that you might be thinking about what this space is and will be when you first drove in or when you drive in each week. And so I wanted to find a way to elucidate, which $1,000 word shall I use? To show that it's possible for us to bring all of that and to mix it together and not lose any of the beauty of what we each bring, but to create something more than that. So, what else would I think of other than a clash followed by a mash up? So, my great idea, thank you for agreeing with me, was to take, there are a couple songs in our hymnal that have identical tunes. There's one, Be Still, Be Thou My Vision, not Be Still, Be Thou My Vision, Awake Now My Senses. But that's a long, elaborate hymn. So I went to the chorus section toward the back of the gray hymnal and discovered that Sing and Rejoice and Morning Has Come share the same tune. So James, would you play just the tune for us? So we're going to sing it on a do-do-do, because that will make it feel jazzy, okay? If you want to go do-be-do, that's fine too. All right, so first note, here we go. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Did you get a little scared up on that top note where you had to keep staying there? I felt the fear. I honor your fear. We're going to plow right through it. Okay, so let's do it again on a do, because now you have it memorized. Here we go. Do, 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 do. So this side of the room, you're going to learn. Which one am I? Have you learned? I think I have these backwards. You are going to learn Sing and Rejoice. Ron, I had you learning Morning Has Come, right? Is that true?
Yeah, morning.
Okay, good. A pre-plan. Occasionally that happens. So, sing with me on Sing and Rejoice, this side of the room. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice. now. Let's try it again. Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice. Splendid. Other side of the room. Yours, now you know the tune because you've been listening, so I expect great things. Here we go. Morning has come. Morning has come. Night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. So it's rise with the sun and... Okay? All right. I don't think you need another practice. Okay. So you're singing Sing and Rejoice, and you're singing Morning Has Come. You're all singing the same tune, so you can't get lost. Okay. Not yet. Right now, it will be. You're giving it away, Ron. You're giving away the big surprise element. Ooh, I just saw a hawk fly by. Okay. I know you all look out the windows, and so this is my chance to look out the windows. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Sing as joys, sing as joys, rise with the sun and the days. And you know what that sounded like?
A mash.
Yeah. Because the words were kind of like, oh, but these are my words. These are my special words. So maybe it will help if we do it as a round, as Ron suggested. So my morning has come, folks. You're going to start, and I'm going to abandon you, and I'm going to go over to my Sing and Rejoice people, and I'm going to lead you in, okay? You ready? A note. Here we go. Morning has come, sing and rejoice, bright is the stars, let all things living now sing and rejoice. Good. Sing and rejoice, bright and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice. And now we're done with that. Okay, so that was not quite as cacophonous, but I think that we could even stretch a little more. No, we're not going to do it as a fugue or something like that. Don't you worry. But here's where the mashup comes in, because, you know, we can keep singing our own song. I'm the Morning Has Come people, and that's my theology. And I'm the Sing and Rejoice people, and that's my theology. And maybe we can have coffee together and be nice to one another, but we are different. But we're not, right? So, here's the mashup. It's a little of each, right? And it still makes a lovely song, but it no longer rhymes. So if rhyming is your jam, I'm sorry. Okay? So let's sing the new, and I will say improved version of Morning Has Come. Here we go. Morning has come, sing and rejoice, let all things living now welcome the day. So it's a little wobbly, like I really love something to rhyme, but now it's inclusive. And there's nothing that is like standing in the way of your singing and rejoicing or your gratitude for the morning. We found a way to make them be together. So let's sing it one more time as an affirmation and really listen to each other. We're just going to change how you sing. I won't tell you how, because then you'll try to make it happen. Here we go. Morning has come, sing and rejoice, let all things living now welcome the day. Lovely. Thank you for your courage in playing along. And you're all now enrolled in the choir, so that's fun. Linda said, yes, that's a true thing. Oh, goodness. You know, each week we bring our whole selves into this sacred time. And I call it sacred time because it is made sacred by our presence together. We bring our joys, our concerns, our sorrows, and we bring them into this container. And part of it is a container made of wood and glass and concrete. But mostly it's a container made out of love and courage and honesty. So we bring our vulnerability into this container because it can be just as vulnerable to bring an element of joy as it is to bring an element of sorrow or concern. So I invite you to come forward as you will and to place a stone or a shell on the table labyrinth in honor of all that you're bringing with you today. And this is done not, with a microphone speaking aloud what's on your heart, but carrying it and laying it down here for us to help carry it for a little while. Come forward as you will. comes from Kathleen McTeague. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope, is hallowed by our presence together. James, this is going to be a long one, so you might want to sit in a regular chair. Oh no, you all heard that too. Oh dear. So in this space, we laugh, we listen, we welcome, and we hold stillness. Sometimes we hold silence, resisting that impulse to fill the space with something. It's in that space where transformation can happen. It creates the space where something could happen here. I think that the desire for transformation is at the heart of what brings each one of us to this space, whether it is virtual or in person. So perhaps you're thinking, that's hogwash, Michelle. I come here to see my friends and to connect. And in this imaginary conversation, I would smile gently and suggest that cultivating friendships is one of many ways to transform our loneliness. Being seen and understood, belonging, is the antidote to loneliness. Conversely, not being seen and understood, not having a sense of belonging, intensifies our feelings of loneliness. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands if being here sometimes intensifies your loneliness. If being among people who have established friendships and don't think to connect with you feels disproportionately painful, just know that I see you. I admire your tenacity. Or perhaps it is your longing for a word of hope that keeps you here. Some of you have heard my story of my introduction to Unitarian Universalism, so please forgive the repetition, but I think it is germane to our conversation. So I'd like you to cast your mind back to the time before cell phones, before nearly every household had a personal computer. Way, way back to 1989. Les and I were expecting our daughter, and we and another couple who also wanted a religious community to raise a family, but did not want the dogma of our former constricting faith communities, well, we were church shopping. We would attend a church service and then go to lunch to process what we had just experienced. I would note that we did not dissect the sermon or rate the music. We were seeking transformation. We were seeking a place to belong. We visited most of the denominations in our town, and we were getting a little disheartened. The next stop was the Unitarian Church, a small lay-led congregation where we had been attending Green Justice meetings. The leader of the Green Group was going to be the guest speaker that Sunday, so it felt safe. We already knew where the restrooms were, and we would know at least one other person in the room, even though he was not a member. The morning arrived, and our friends, who had an infant who had kept them up most of the night, declined to go. Les had been at the theater until the wee hours of the morning, so I decided to go alone. As I said, I already knew the layout of the building, and I knew the speaker. Did I mention that I was 8 months pregnant? So I was noticeable. I won't go into details of that visit other than to say that aside from the one person who was actually hostile, the rest of the congregation just ignored me. During coffee hour, they chatted among themselves and they conducted church business. And after about 10 minutes, I left. We only lived about a quarter mile from the church, and by the time I got home, I was sobbing. I had gone seeking community, a place to raise our daughter, and to have the freedom to question and to consider theological ideas. When I finished relaying my experience to Les, I surprised, I think, both of us, when I declared that I was going back. Intuitively, I knew that I had found the place I needed to be, and the mean people weren't going to keep me from returning. We stayed there for 20 years. We made friends. And most of the people weren't actually mean. They were just inattentive. They were intent to get things done without returning for a meeting during the week. It wasn't easy to break in and belong. But I hope that we made a difference so that future newcomers' experience would be, if not warm and fuzzy, at least not prickly. We went seeking transformation, a place to belong and grow. And I think we found some of that. But we had to be part of creating the conditions that would make it possible for us and for those who would come after us. And so with this little story in mind, here again, the words from Kathleen McTeague. We come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment, until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see their communion, the reflection of our own eyes. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. The process theologian Henry Nelson Wyman said that our ultimate allegiance was to that which could transform us as we cannot transform ourselves, when the necessary conditions have been met. I've always focused on the first part, an allegiance to that which can transform us as we cannot transform ourselves. That last phrase has always felt like a tack-on. When the necessary conditions have been met? What conditions? What makes them necessary? How do we meet them? But I think I'm beginning to understand the fullness of Wyman's assertion, even the last bit. So let's take a moment and crack that nut. We owe our ultimate allegiance to that which can transform us as we cannot transform ourselves. Maybe for you, that's God. Or the higher power at the heart of 12-step programs. Maybe it's the ancestors you feel watching over you. Or the animism of a world everywhere alive. Maybe it's the transforming power of love and belonging. Whatever transforms you as you cannot transform yourself, and we are assuming a positive transformation here, by the way, that can be worthy of your ultimate allegiance. And there's the beauty of Unitarian Universalism. We are not going to tell you where your ultimate allegiance must be placed, just that it brings about positive transformation in your life. We'll get to that last part, that necessary conditions part, a tiny bit later. But first, a tiny story.
In the heart of an ancient woodland, 3 young trees grew side by side, reaching up to the sky. They each had dreams that whispered through their leaves in the wind. The first tree wanted to be a treasure chest, holding gold and jewels. The second tree dreamed of being a ship sailing the seas. The third tree just wanted to be the tallest in the forest, like a king. As time passed, and the seasons changed, fate took an unexpected turn. The once dreaming saplings found themselves face to face with the unforgiving blades of woodcutters. Their dreams shattered like fragile glass, only to be recast in unexpected molds. The first tree, which wanted to hold treasures, changed into a simple feeding trough. Inside, it became a cozy place for farm animals to eat, not filled with gold and jewels, but with food for thankful creatures. The second tree, wishing to sail the seas, turned into a small fishing boat. It floated on calm lakes and winding rivers, helping those who wanted to catch their daily food. The third tree became beams and planks for houses in a growing village. Even though it wasn't the tallest, it became a part of homes, giving warmth and protection to families. In the quiet change of their destinies, the trees found out that their new jobs were more important than what they first wanted. Each, in their newfound forms, played a vital role in the lives of others, illustrating that even when the script of life unfolds differently than expected, there is profound significance in serving the needs of the world around us. Life may not go as planned, but there is value in serving others.
Things do not always go as expected. Our idea of transformation might look more like a week-long retreat at a spa, where we awake each morning refreshed and suddenly insightful. And if that's your experience, write a book. It will be a bestseller, it'll fly off the shelves. Who wouldn't want a blissful transformation experience? But let's face it, more often transformation happens to us. Transformation happens. Feel free to exchange a certain 4-letter word in place of transformation, because very often it is that happens and that disrupts our plans and rearranges our lives. The transformative bit is related to how we respond to those disruptions and challenges. Let me share with you an observation from Reverend Naomi King, a Unitarian Universalist minister and daughter of acclaimed fiction writers. You may have heard of them: Stephen King, Tabitha King. No, I didn't think so. Naomi knows something of disruptive transformation and the journey that unfolds. This is what she writes. Transformation is life, including the transformation that results in death and decay. We can pretend that it is not so. We can hold on to denial and hold on to rage and hold on to bitterness and hold on to the illusion that somehow we are exempt from change or as perfected as we are going to be. But then the breaking comes, as it inevitably does. Transformation happens because it is a part of life, no matter what we try, deny, or do. She continues, for example, I did not choose my genetic disease or my osteoarthritis, but I can choose how I adapt to and learn from the changes that they bring. I can transform for bitter or for better. End of quote. There is so much to unpack in this one paragraph, so much lived truth and theological insight. Transformation is life, including the transformation that results in death and decay. I know, it sounds like a contradiction, so let's explore it a little bit. On the front of your order of service is a picture of the caterpillar's journey to become a butterfly. We often describe that as metamorphosis. Yeah, that is much too pretty a word for what actually happens. In his book, A Shift in Being, Leon Vanderpoel outlines exactly what is happening in the cocoon. Let me paraphrase his description. First of all, the process is that of death and emergence, not morphing. Wrapped in its cocoon, the caterpillar's body decays and disintegrates, becoming a primordial goo of death cells mixed with caterpillar innards. Delightful. And something remarkable happens in that decaying goo. Ping! New cells. Imaginal cells. They're called imaginal cells because they are imagining what is possible. I didn't make this up. They're really called imaginal cells. So the immune system of the dying caterpillar takes the imaginal cells to be an enemy and attacks and kills it. And then another imaginal cell pops up, ping, and the immune system again trounces it. And soon a number of imaginal cells pop up, ping, 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 ping. Now the immune system is starting to fade away. The caterpillar is dead. And it does its best to kill off those new cells. But eventually, there are more new cells. And then the magic takes place. That's a scientific sentence. The magic takes place. Because the imaginal cells are encoded with the program to create a butterfly, they start joining together to form cell clusters. Clusters of wing cells, clusters of antenna cells, clusters of digestive tract cells. The cell clusters eventually form together, and the transformation is complete. The butterfly emerges as an entirely different and new entity. So let's return to Naomi King. We can hold on to denial and hold on to rage and hold on to bitterness and hold on to the illusion that somehow we are exempt from change or as perfected as we are going to be. But then the breaking comes, as it inevitably does. Transformation happens because it is part of life, no matter what we try, deny, or do. But we can choose how to adapt to and learn from the changes. We can transform for bitter or for better. I don't want to take exception to Reverend Naomi's words because they come from the truth of her own experience. But I will say that even if we find that we have transformed for bitter, it's not too late to transform for better. We can initiate our own transformation by paying attention to or creating the necessary conditions. Aha! You knew I'd get back to Henry Nelson Wyman. We owe our ultimate allegiance to that which can transform us as we cannot transform ourselves when the necessary conditions have been met. So what about those necessary conditions? And how do we meet them? And how will we know that we have met them? An illustrative story from my own experience. So we're going to go back even further than 1989. I almost said 1889. We're going to go all the way back to 1980. Whew, this time travel exhausted. In the fall of 1980, I was a freshman at Bob Jones University, a fundamentalist Christian college that was and continues to be a cult. Maybe some evening we'll gather for popcorn and stories of our various experiences with the dark side of transformation. But for today, suffice to say that it only took 4 months there to destroy the faith I'd been raised in. So if you're doing the math, it was 9 years later that I discovered Unitarian Universalism. Those intervening years were filled with spiritual exploration. It was rich, but it was confusing. a time when I experienced severe and nearly life-ending health challenges. Transformation happens, and we can choose bitter or better. Fast forward a couple of decades to seminary, answering the call to ministry. So many transformations along the way. Naomi King said that when the breaking comes, as it inevitably does, that's the cusp to transformation. So what I left out of this brief account is the nightmares that plagued me for 40 years. It sounds biblical, doesn't it? Look up Exodus if you're wondering what I'm talking about. For 40 years, I had recurring nightmares of being forced to return to Bob Jones. It has only been in the last few years, as I undertook course study in spiritual direction and dream work, that the nightmares have ceased. That snarly knot of trauma in my gut has begun to unwind. Transformation happens. And sometimes it takes a really, really long time. As Linda sang, "So brothers, take my hand, and sisters, sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know we will go on." You see, here's the thing about transformation. It changes us. It rearranges us, our priorities, our dreams, our very identity, as long as we are willing to choose better over bitter, when the necessary conditions have been met. My necessary conditions were to put myself in places I could explore the depths, alone and in the company of others, to not hold on to denial, rage, and bitterness. It's been a long journey, but a rich one. The religious trauma I experienced as an emerging adult is softening and healing, and it is informing my next steps in ministry. Let me begin by affirming that I'm not going anywhere. Did you feel that holding of breath? What is she going to tell us? There's no anxiety needed. I'm beginning a DMin program, that's Doctor of Ministry. Program is in spiritual direction. I'm being led to help others heal from religious trauma. My own healing has been my life's work so far, and now it's time to apply that experience and help others discover their necessary conditions that will open the way to transformation. Because you see, I don't think anyone achieves transformation alone. I have found that to be true in my own life, and the accounts I've heard or read from others. Kathleen McTeague said, "We come together to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives." Psst, that's where transformation starts. So let me close with a very short story by Rabbi David Wolf. A boy and his father were walking along a road when they came across a large stone. "Do you think if I use all of my strength, I can move this rock?" the child asked. His father answered, "If you use all your strength, I am sure you can do it." The boy began to push the rock, exerting himself as much as he could. He pushed, and the rock did not move. Discouraged, he said to his father, "You are wrong. I can't do it." His father put his arm around his son and said, "No, son, you didn't use all your strength. You didn't ask me for help." We are here to learn to use all our strength. May we have the courage to ask for help along the way and to accept it when it is offered. Amen. Our song and response is "Just as Long as I Have Breath." You'll find it in the gray hymnal, number 6. The words will be up front. And I'm speaking slowly so James can make his way to the piano. Please rise and body your spirit as we sing together. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. Please remain standing as we extinguish our chalice and close this portion of the service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. You may be seated for some brief announcements.
Hello again. It's been so long. As our service draws to an end, our service to the world is ready to begin. Let me tell you about some of the opportunities to connect and serve in the days to come. Please join us for coffee and conversation immediately following the service. We meet in the Emerson room, just through those lovely double doors at the back of the chapel. If you need a place for quiet conversation, you can bring your coffee to the atrium, the green and growing space at the back of the chapel. Social justice activities are ramping up during this election season. There will be an organizational Zoom meeting to UU the Vote on March 14th. Please see Ruth Bowen or Lorraine Marcus for details. More information can be found in the March Forward, our congregation's monthly newsletter. Next week's service, we will celebrate some of the women who have transformed Unitarian Universalism. As always, see the church newsletter, The Forward, for information regarding upcoming services and events. We invite you to participate in supporting the mission and ministry of UU Amherst with your financial gifts at the end of the service. You'll find a green basket at the back of the chapel to receive your contributions, or you can give online or text your gift to the number on the screen. Your gifts and participation are important because we pick fruit from trees we did not plant. We drink water from wells we did not dig. This is as it should be, so long as we dig and plant for those who come after us. Your generous giving supports the work of this congregation. And now, please rise and body your spirit as we sing our closing blessing, and remain standing afterward for the benediction.
Easy. found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. And if you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace.